Trucks, I don't know if you were here for all of that, but the way that I want to do this tonight is we'll go boss by boss. We'll open with comments, and then we'll watch a 30-second video on the boss guide, and then we'll close with comments. I'm going to try and write down everything that we feel is important. So no one has had anything to say about a Nubricon yet. We're going to watch the video. I don't know if you guys are going to have audio or not. Let's see. Let me know if this doesn't play audio. Just let me know and I'll pause it. Okay. So looks like we only needed 3 tanks. How do we want to handle the bug spawns? Do you think mages could probably clean that up by themselves? Do we want a sapper? I don't know. I have no idea. Let's say probably week 1 we would just expect a sapper, and then if and when they spawn again, then we'll have mages clean them up. So also for Naxxramas, we're gonna have Trunk is gonna be our threat tank. Big Sax is gonna be our mitigation tank. So I want to see Trunk taking a Nubricon, and then Moko and Big Sax will be tanking ads. I don't think he said anything about the spikes that come out, because the tire rate is supposed to spread. So I'll write that down as well. Also, I don't think we're going to have to kite a Nubricon around the room. I feel like we're going to just murder him. So I don't know what the timer is like on that. But Trunk, are you familiar with how to kite him around the slime? Okay, so just put a little note there. So I've got Trunk's main tank. He possibly may need to kite. Everyone's going to spread out for the AoE damage that he does. And we're going to sapper small spiders when they spawn. Next boss is Grand Widow. Do we have any comments for Grand Widow? Yeah, who's going to be our mind control priest? Probably Neo, I would imagine. Let's go ahead and assign him. I agree. All right, no comments. We're going to let the video roll. All right, so a couple things there. Are we going to have to farm sacks again for this boss, for the range groups? Okay. And then we'll have Shaman's Cleansing Melee. So we shouldn't have to farm too many sacks. How many of the followers are we, how many does she have in the very beginning? 6? Okay. 4 of them do not have the ability, or 2 of them? Okay. It should just be 1 priest, because if there's a cooldown, it should... Yeah, there is no cooldown to mind control. I do not know. I know our priest has real, but yes, I'll put a note on there. All right, so I put a note on there. How much hit do we need? They mentioned that the 2 ads we killed in the beginning, charge and also AoE silence. Can we cleave them down on top of the boss? That seems like it would be the best play. I have no idea. So I'll put a note there, and we'll have to watch some kill videos and come back. We may ask more questions than answers tonight, but at least we will know what we need to look at. Okay, so my notes for this boss are kill 2 ads, leave 4 alive. Every 1 minute, Neosporin is going to mind control 1 ad to sacrifice against the boss and reduce the enrage. And we have to farm sacks for the ranged groups to cleanse the poison. The question we have is, can we cleave the first 2 ads down on the boss or not? Because of charge and AoE silence. Okay. Any other notes? Beautiful. We're going to go to Naxxramas. Yeah, how would that work? I would think each off tank would tank 2 ads, but let me write that down as a question. Right. That makes sense. I agree. I agree with that. We'll have to, and we can make that a game time decision as well. We'll likely just let Neosporin be the call on that, and then after week 1, we'll have a better idea of what our speed's going to be. Any comments on Naxxramas? The biggest thing I can think of is assigning range DPS to break out web wraps, and then how are we going to keep... Do we want big stacks tanking this or trunk because of the 8-second silence or 8-second stun where the tank has to survive? I would think trunk because of threat, but how are we going to keep him alive? I don't think Unwin is here. Neo is not. Unwin, do we have any idea on how to keep a tank alive for 8 seconds with no healing? Alright, so I'll just write that down as a question we can come back to. Can you guys hear me? See Zinc's lighting up, I don't hear anything. Testing, hello? I missed everything you guys just said. I think I can hear now. Hello? Yes, okay. Something about pots, and then I didn't hear anything before that. Okay. We don't have a Resto Druid. Does that mean Moko has a heal in this fight? There are spiders that spawn on both sides of the room. Okay. Who are we going to have breaking out web wraps? Probably hunters are the best class with the range. All of the ranged. We don't expect. You can't expect warlocks to channel a 2-second shadow bolt with travel time on a. Okay. All right, so our pre-video notes are Unwin and Neo need to discuss fine-tuning on how to keep Tronk alive. There's mention of hots and other things. Moko is going to have to hot Tronk before the stun. Moko and Big Stacks are going to tank spider spawns, which we could probably just melee cleave down, I would think. The video says to have your mages kill them, but I don't know if we're going to need to do that. Maybe we should. That may be the right play. Okay, we'll switch to our mid tank. If you don't get the first stun until 50%, I would say you just push. But I don't know how often we're going to be getting those stuns. I would think well before 50%, but I don't know. Let's also keep in mind that when we get to this point, there's no way we have roll buffs the first week. Very, very small chances. All of them. Zero. Good job. I'm going to play the video and then we can talk about our notes. Playing. Wait, I'm not streaming, am I? Alright, stream is up. I'll wait for anyone that wants to click in, and then I'll hit play. 7 of you. Lovely. Playing. Alright, so we will also need sacks for this boss. For the range. Do we want to have an emergency supply of the poison elixir cleansing? Yeah, so we're going to have to make sure that all the ranged have that. Let's see. Okay, so to review the notes, big stacks will be main tanking. Moko will hot big stacks before the sun. Moko and big stacks, I'm sorry, Moko and Trunk will tank spider spawns. The ranged will need sacks or elixirs of poison resistance. Around the 30% enrage, we'll need to be very careful on when we push the web spray 8-second stun. When we push past 30% so that we're not getting stunned immediately. Big stacks will shield wall the 30% web spray or the enraged web spray, and then all range need to stand together and switch to web wraps. Which wing are we doing second, Chu? Okay, I'm going to assume we don't have world buffs, so we're going to go to Plague Wing. Not the Plague Bringer. As far as I know, this fight is all about dispelling, and it's pretty easy. Do we have other notes? Okay, so I'm going to put our threat tank on this. Any other notes besides add spawning and assigning tanks? What is this debuff that you get if you're within 20 yards? Oh, so, okay. So you're not going to have to decurse any of the ranged or healers. It's just the melee. Just have all the tanks fight for threat. That's what makes the most sense. Okay, I'm going to play the video and then we can review our notes. Okay, so in review, we're going to have our tanks fight for threat because there's a blink aggro drop. The mages have to decurse. If they decurse, we will win. Ranged and healers have to stand outside of 20 yards. I don't know if we're going to assign certain tanks to different areas of the room to pick up adds in phase 2 or as they're spawning in phase 1. I think we should just try without assignments and see how that goes. Shu, anything to add? Chonk? Yeah. I do think all the ranged and melee are gonna have to switch to ads though on blink and when they're spawning. So I think warriors taking ads will also help some. So let me add that in there. So when ads are spawned, the entire raid should switch to them. All right, DDR Heigen the Unclean. As far as I know, this is just about not lagging and standing on the person we designate to show the safe spots. In Wrath, I know there was a mechanic where you had to tank him so far away from the platform. Otherwise, the healers and the range DPS would get a slow casting debuff. So I don't know if that's. I'm certain that's in this model. Oh, it's just a mana burn. Okay. So I'm sure they will yell at you, Trunk, if you're not tanking him the correct distance. But just be aware that you can't tank him very close to the platform. You do have to put a little range between yourself. So we may have to review that in another video. Any other notes before we watch? Okay, so my note that I've written down is after Trash Gauntlet, stack on left wall by Hagen for mana recovery. Okay. Any other notes on Hagen? Is this what? Yeah. Okay, so I've added to the note, some get teleported to separate gauntlet to kill I-beams and re-enter dance room safely. And then an additional note, avoid slow-moving slugs. Do we want to say who's going to be marked to follow on the dance, or do we want to save them? So we're going to mark a tank. Okay. Okay. Any other notes on Hagen? All right, Loatheb. Any beginning comments? Okay, so pre-pot shadow, and then everyone pre-pot shadow, and then only melee pre-pot nature. Okay. We're going to need to, before we start the video, we're going to have to assign spore groups, which I know we were talking about the other day, or you were. Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to hit play. Poison. Go ahead. Poison cleansing again. Does that also go to ranged and healers? Thank God. So we can just do poison cleansing totem and be cheap. Wait, it's not a healing spell. I don't know why it would. Interesting. Okay, so the notes I have: Big Sax is main tank. Everyone's pre-potting Shadow Potion. Melee only pre-potting Nature Potion. We will publish and assign sport groups to sport rotation. Unwin is going to follow up on does Poison Cleansing Totem count as a healing spell, and Warlocks will need to reapply curses. Any other closing remarks? Okay. After Plague Wing, where are we going? Okay. Patchwork. I've read that we should have 4 people taking Hateful Strikes. Are we going to do 4 or 3? Yeah, I would say we're just gonna have to, it's probably gonna be a warrior, right? We'll be the the 4th person tanking the hatefuls if it happens. So we would just want to not wear things like Lionheart Helm that don't have stamina. Oh, okay. There's no way that all of our tanks can wear shields and stay number one on aggro. So are you saying Trunk and Big Stacks both have to wear a shield for the whole fight? Okay. So we don't know how we want to handle the fourth hateful slot right now. Are we certain about the sludge mechanic? Because I swore I saw a Reddit post that said that is not correct. Right. Okay. I'll have to relook up that post that I was looking at. But I'm just going to write that down as a question. Melee sit in slime question mark. Other comments? All right, let's watch. You said 5% is the enrage? Okay. Okay. So I'll put it in as a question for now. We can discuss it later. Ooh. All right, Grabulous. Any notes here? Yeah, I'm gonna do some more research on that, but that's the current theory. So for Grabulous, we'll probably have Trunk tanking. Only Trunk can be in front of the boss. Every time he casts Slime Spray, the amount of targets in front of the boss will spawn ads. Hopefully it's just one, which is Trunk. The ad will be picked up by an off tank and cleaved on top of the boss. Occasionally there's a debuff that gets put on a random player. The player has to run out of the raid into a good position to drop a poison ring. When the player is dispelled, they'll drop a small poison ring on the floor that slowly grows larger until it fills like half the room. the entire fight, Tronk will need to be kiting Grobulus around the outside of the room because the small poison rings periodically spawn on Grobulus himself. So it's a positioning fight on placing poison rings in proper positions. Underrod, BCNs, okay. So I'm gonna hit play. Alright, so I'm just going to read my notes here. Trunk will be main tanking. The off tanks will pick up ads when they're spawned on Grobulus, cleave them down. We're going to slowly kite the boss around the room. When a player receives mutating injection debuff, they'll need to run out of the raid and drop the poison ring. Other comments? Okay. So then the entire raid will have to be behind Grobulus. Someone just interrupt our discussion in like 15 minutes when we're getting closer to heart. Gluth. Who are we going to have kiting ads in this? Both the hunters, obviously. Who else? Okay. Okay. So as far as I know about this fight, we're gonna have the hunters and a few mages kiting ads around the room with frost traps. Every so often, Gluth is going to cast something. I think it's called Decimate. I don't know the spell name. Where all of the zombies run towards him in an attempt to heal the boss. So before that cooldown goes off, we're going to want the ads kited to the back of the room or towards a frost trap so that we have more room to kill them, because all the DPS will switch and kill the zombies before they get to Gluth. If they're not killed, they will heal the boss. There's also a stacking armor debuff, so the tanks are going to have to taunt switch every so often. I don't know how many, or no, maybe it's a healing debuff. I think it is a healing debuff. I don't know how many stacks we want to have the tank switch. I think this video suggests 4 or 5. I don't know what our number will be. And then I believe there may be, oh, there's tranks as well. So we're going to have to, not only are the hunters kiting ads, they're also going to have to be rotating trank shots on the boss. That's going to be tough. Okay. So the hunters aren't really kiting then. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to play the video and then we can discuss and finalize notes. Okay. How many stacks do we want tanks to switch? 4 or 5? Okay. So here are my notes. Trunk will begin the fight as the main tank. Tanks will switch every 4 stacks. Hunters will lay frost traps. A few mages will kite the ads. Hunters need a trank rotation every 10 seconds. Ranged and healers have to stand 20 yards away from the boss for the fear mechanic. And then every so often, decimate will happen. The ads will run towards the boss in an attempt to heal. All the DPS will switch and kill ads. Other notes. I'm not sure how much they heal. It's not a good situation if they're hitting the boss. Okay, Thaddeus. So there's 2 phases to the fight. The first phase, there are 2 platforms, a melee platform and a ranged platform. I think the ranged are on the right and the melee on the left. We'll have to check. Okay, so I'm not even going to write it down. We'll have to confirm that. 'Cause I don't know. We'll have to kill the ads within like 5 seconds of each other, so we'll have to be monitoring them. I'm certain that the melee ad is going to die way faster, so we're going to have to be very careful and just call their deaths together. After both the ads die, everyone will run off the platforms, defeat the jump boss onto Thaddeus's platform, and stand, let's call it the 6 o'clock position, or in front of the boss, all stacked. A few seconds after Thaddeus activates, he will give everyone a charge, either positive or negative. Which side do we want positive? Which side do we want negative? Do we want to go ahead and assign that? Okay. Okay, so after you get or assigned a charge, if you're negative, you'll run left and stack all as a group. Everyone has to stack on the melee range. If you get positive, you're going to run to the right side and stack all in a group. The more people that are stacked, the more damage we do. Every so often, he'll do polarity shift where your charge may or may not change. If it does change, like if you were negative and now you turn positive, you have to run around the boss in a clockwise motion to get to your new group. If you have the wrong charge in the wrong group, you will blow up and do damage. I'm going to play. Are there other comments before we play the video? All right. So we've got melee will be on Fugin's platform. We'll have to research that, make sure that's correct. On the left side, range will be okay. How far is the range? Because in Wrath, it's not very far. Okay. So one other note that I did make is because we're going to be standing so far away from the boss when polarity shift happens, it's very important that if you're moving camps, you move clockwise in like an arcing position. If you don't and run straight through the boss, then you're going to kill people on the other side that are also switching. So if you're negative on the left side, you're going to move around up to 10, 11, 12 o'clock, 1, 2, 3 o'clock. If you're positive, moving to the other side, the negative side, you're going to come down 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock. Other comments? Okay. So that leaves the military wing. What do we need to say about Resuvius? Okay. Other notes? Are we killing any ads before? Okay. So okay. Good call. Are we gonna need a third tank for this? If no, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Right, because no one's sinking Resuvius. All right, I'm gonna hit play. So do melee have to run out for that? So I'll just write it down as the question. All players dodge disrupting shot. We'll look into it. Other notes? One thing I think is interesting, you called for the next mind control to go out about 5 seconds before shield wall drops. So whoever's tanking the ad that gets mind controlled is going to have to come down here and prepare to pick up the ad that's losing mind control. What do you mean you get a new ad? You're going to have to pick up the ad that was just tanking Resuvius. That is right. That's what I said. I think you're misunderstanding me, which is fine. We're saying the same thing. Any other thing for Resuvius? Gothic. There's a range side and a melee side. I think the way this guy splits it up, which we may or may not do, the ranged are on the living side, the melee are on the dead side. There's an add kill order on each side. It's different for the living side than it is on the dead side. After a certain amount of time of killing ads, the boss will teleport down to one of the sides where we will do damage. Occasionally he'll switch to the other side where they will do damage at a certain amount of life. The gate opens up between the living and the dead side, and everyone meets to gangbang him. Do we know the order of the ads? Because I do not. That is true. Okay. Yeah, this video shows it too, and it shows the priority. And you're right, the horses are highest priority on living, but lowest on dead side. So I'm just gonna play the video, and I'll write down what he says, and we can talk about it afterwards. Chu, did you have any other notes? Okay, so what he said, range will be on the living side. Their kill order will be Unrelenting Riders first, secondly, Death Knights, thirdly, Trainees. On the dead side, it will be switched a little bit. So Trainees will be first priority for melee on the dead side. Riders will be second. Death Knights will be third, and then the horses that the riders drop will be last. I would think it's because the melee cleaver. I don't know, honestly. We'll have to look that up. Any other notes on Gothic? All right, 4 horsemen. So I know we're gonna need 4 tanks And I know we're going to have to split the raid up into a bunch of different groups, and we're going to have a ton of different healing assignments. The way that he explains it is pretty interesting. I watched the video earlier, so we may just let him talk about it, and maybe we want to make our own plan. Chu, I didn't know if you had something in mind already, or if we should just watch the video. 8 tanks, you're right. I'm sorry, and he says that as well. So we'll hit play. So that's a lot. I don't know where we want to start. Log in for heart. You're talking about the heavy dot is Mograine. Right. Impending Scarab Stylings. Rin dropping soon. Rin in 50 seconds. Rin in 30. So. Yes, it's reserved. I think we're gonna have a separate meeting. One, a tank meeting, and two, a healer meeting to discuss like certain assignments. So the big thing I want to focus on is what are the DPS doing, and that is basically just listening to your assignment, and then when you get 3 stacks, you're going to the safe zone and waiting for your stacks to fall. Are we gonna have the DPS like with 2 assignments? So while they're waiting on their stacks for one boss to fall, they're attacking the other one. Okay. So you're rotating to the meteor, and we're waiting on a meteor drop, or I don't know. I guess I don't know what that would look like. Sorry, I'm just dying for this run buff. Let's see. Like, what are we using this safe zone for? I guess is my question. We'll have to watch a different video. All right, let's keep this bitch rolling. I think we're gonna have to come back to this with a different video and a little more discussion. There is no 30-second saffron, so I don't know. Let me try and find a video. Yeah, so I like Rasters. He does good videos. This may take too long, but from what I know about Saffron, everyone's going to be wearing their frost resistance. We're going to have a tank tanking him in the middle of the room. The dragon tail whips, the dragon cleaves. So if you're melee, you have to stand at the belly button like a Nyxia. There is ticking frost damage that does a ton of raid damage. The healers are well aware of already. There's blizzards that spawn around the room, much like Twin Emperors. Stay out of the blizzards. Every so often, the dragon flies up into the air. He targets maybe 3 raid members, turns them into an ice block. There's 5 raid members, turns them into an ice block. There's a bomb that slowly drops in the middle of the room. If you're not an ice block, you have to run behind an ice block to line of sight the ice bomb in the center of the room before it explodes. If you're standing correctly, line of sight behind the ice block, and the bomb explodes, you will not die. The boss gets picked up after the bomb explodes, and you rinse and repeat. I'm pretty sure it's just a war of attrition. Am I missing anything? I did not. What is the curse? Good note. I'm playing the video. playing the video. I'm skipping this part. Okay, So I'm going to review my notes and then we can add to it. Heavy frost damage, dragon cleaves and tail whips. May just have to dispel the life drain. Probably are going to ask everyone to pre-pot shadow protection potion. When the dragon flies into the air, we're going to spread into maybe a V formation, maybe something else. After all the 5 blocks go out, we're going to stack line of sight behind the ice blocks. Rinse, repeat. Probably like pre quadrants, yeah, like group 1 and 2 will be in this quadrant, so on and so forth. It's because you got free resistance. I think that we should. Hmm. Yeah, it's some setting that you have to change the macros. Chutoy, I think we should pass down final frost resistance numbers through class leads and just announce in class channels what people are expected to show up as. Because I know it's probably going to be different for some people, so let's just not even put a number on that for this discussion. I think we can move to Kel'Thuzad. Something like that. So I'm going to do my best to explain it, and then we can take other anecdotes and we'll watch the video. There's also no 30-second guide to Kel'Thuzad yet. He hasn't published it, so I assume that will be up sometime this week. There are 2 phases. During the first phase, we're all going to stack in the room. There are a bunch of compartments on the outside of the room, with ads that slowly walk towards the middle to kill us. There are abominations that will be tanked in the middle. They cleave, face them away from the raid. Melee will kill the A-bombs. There are little banshee ghosts, I think they're called. If they make it to the raid, they explode and displace people. Ranged will be responsible for killing them before they make it to the raid. There are also little skeletons that spawn. They're very easy to kill, from what I remember. Yeah, no multi-shots, no AoEs into the compartments. We don't want to pull things intentionally to us. They slowly spawn walking towards the raid. We don't have to encourage them. After a certain amount of time, Kel'Thuzad will activate to begin phase 2. We're going to have positions published where Kel'Thuzad will be tanked in the middle of the room. Melee will be spread into probably 8 groups around Kel'Thuzad, stacking in pairs like we do on Cthulhu. Kel'Thuzad does several things. Probably the most devastating is an ice block. So he targets a player, and then anyone within a certain range, I don't know if it's 5 or 10 yards, also turns into an ice block. The block will do like 110 or 115% of your total life over a few seconds. So the players in the ice block have to receive a heal or they will die 100%. If you chain Ice Block, then you just make life harder on the healers and kill more people. There's a Frostbolt volley that has to be interrupted, so we will assign kicks. There are red circles of death that spawn on the floor. If you see one under your feet, you have to move, or it's a one-shot kill. I don't recall if there's a dispel or decurse. I don't remember. When Kel'Thuzad gets to, I don't know, maybe 30% life, he begins to spawn Anubrak beetle things that will have to be off-tanked. We ignore the beetles. It's just an enrage mechanic. So we'll heal the off-tanks. The off-tanks will continue picking up the beetles, and we're going to have to pop cooldowns and kill Kel'Thuzad before he kills us. Good call. So I'll write that down. Any other notes that I missed? See Taunable? Cool. I'm gonna review the notes I just took from what you were saying, and then we'll watch the video. So phase 1, melee are gonna kill skeletons and A-bombs. You don't have to stay in the middle of the green circle, but don't go too far. Ranged are gonna prioritize banshees in phase 1. Phase 2, we're gonna have assigned positions. Tanks will fight for threat. We're gonna crowd control mind control targets. Everyone will dodge red void zones. Interrupt rotation for frostbolt. Spread for ice block. After the enrage, we're gonna shackle 3 of the Anubarak ads. Oh, I didn't know that. Apparently the soldiers explode. Oh, we said banshees do that, but it's also the skeletons. So melee can only kill A-bombs, right? Okay. To me, it looks like melee can't touch the soul weavers or skeletons at all. But we'll have to. I'm gonna put a question mark. Okay. Okay. Yep. 1 minute on what? Yeah, we'll wait till it drops. How do you feel about removing Titan's Flask of Titans? If you take the ice block, it does 130% of your maximum health over 5 seconds, so you're more difficult to heal. I think it's a good idea. Probably for the tanks, too. Yeah, you have to take off Flask of Titans. Otherwise, you're more difficult to heal for no reason. Okay, we can leave them on. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna play. All right, so I'm going to publish the notes list that I just had. Obviously, there's still a lot that we need to work out, but at least we had a dry run through tonight. Do it again next Sunday with maybe a full raid video like someone suggested. Does anyone have anything for the good of the group?